What's up, guys, and welcome to the 10th and final video in our first 10 videos on YouTube series. And this is a case study video. Now, these are going to take a little more work, a little more thought, a little more game planning. Thankfully, tools like ChatGPT 4, Claude, Llama, whatever, Perplexity will help you get a lot of these. They can help you brainstorm and even can help you map out a narrative, create bullet points to help you think through this case study in particular. The one that I'm going to show you today, these tools, I did this before all those tools became super relevant. So I just used articles and information that I found on the web. But a lot of the AI kind of ChatGPT type tools can help you really break down and build these case studies out a lot further. However, when it comes to case studies, and I'm going to show you an example of one that I did here. This is back when Silicon Valley Bank collapsed. We were talking about the idea of contingent business interruption insurance, how it applied, because it was a news story. A lot of people were talking about do all the businesses affected by the Silicon Valley Bank collapse, can they use business interruption insurance to reduce the impact on their financial losses associated with that event? And what I did was basically break down what happened, why it happened, high level, right? We wanted to get through that and get to the meat. And then why people were thinking that contingent business interruption insurance was a potential solution. And in this case, why it didn't actually apply in the vast majority of cases associated with Silicon Valley Bank, with the Silicon Valley Bank collapse, which is ultimately was the case. So we're taking a relevant event that happened in recently in the past, breaking down what that event was and the insurance implications and ramifications associated with it, and then ultimately what we can learn and how we can protect ourselves in the event that something like that does happen. Now, you can see this got 207 views. Not a tremendous amount of views. I think in general, the Silicon Valley Bank collapse maybe just wasn't a big enough event. It's not something that really has any long tail either. So, here we are 2 years later, a year and a half later from when that happened. And that event, no one's searching for information around the Silicon Valley Bank collapse today, certainly not a large number of people. So that particular event doesn't really have a long tail. These videos in general won't have long tails. However, if you can pick a company that maybe has a little more brand value, an Amazon, an Apple, a Home Depot, some larger brand, something that happens associated with their business, and then break down the insurance ramifications and how businesses who aren't those particular businesses can protect themselves. Those types of case studies are great, especially if you can do them in industry. So then these become great follow-up videos to send to prospects. So say you have you do one of these case studies around a large contracting business, or something that happens around a home collapse or a building collapse or something of that nature, right? Then you can then when you're talking to contractors on the phone as prospects, you can send that case study as a follow-up video that basically says, here's a particular situation where we just took some time to break down when this type of event happens, to a company of this nature, similar to you. Here's kind of what the insurance ramifications are, how you protect yourself going forward, et cetera. And if you have any questions, we can help you, right? Like that kind of follow-up email linked to a video like this completely separates you, particularly in the insurance industry, from all of your competition. I mean, no one does this kind of thing. Nobody sends these type of follow-up videos. So when prospects get them, just the level of thought that goes into doing this, it immediately enamors them to you. It immediately builds trust and respect, because in their mind, they're saying to themselves, geez, if this guy or gal is willing to do this kind of breakdown, this kind of work, and then send that to me, they must really know what they're doing. They must be really serious about what they do. So case study videos most likely won't have the highest view count, but can be used very strategically to showcase your expertise. And that's what makes them so powerful. So a few things just to think about when we're doing case study videos. We want to be specific, right? Use public information, use reference points. If you have stats, details, those types of things, establish that you understand what happens. If you just go, Silicon Valley Bank collapsed and that was terrible, and here's why business income doesn't, right? It feels like you don't understand the scenario, right? If you can say something like, X trillion dollars of value were lost in this amount of time because of this type of banking error or whatever. I think it had something to do with they bought bonds and the bond yield went above whatever. I can't remember all the details. But if you can get into some of the nitty gritty details associated with it, it really establishes that you understand what the risk is. Be relevant. Use brand names that people understand. At that time, the Silicon Bank Valley collapse was one of the biggest stories happening. There was all this talk about a run on banks, and there was going to be a large number of banks, a cascade of banks that ultimately failed. Thank goodness that didn't end up happening. Although there were a few, it wasn't as bad as I think many people predicted. But if you can use large brand names and events that happen to them that are obviously public record and break those down, that will give you a little more long tail, and brand names that people hear, it just draws them in more, right? Like a lot of people who aren't in either investment banking space or the technology space might not even know what Silicon Valley Bank is. So there's a level of irrelevancy in the particular case study that I showcased before. And my recommendation is try to find stories associated with larger brands that people recognize because it'll draw them in. And lastly, it needs to be timely, right? You can go back and do research on older events, especially if those older events have longevity, either in your geographic region, that particular niche, etc. But timely events are going to get you a little more run, in my opinion, and in my experience as well. If you're finding something that happened recently, breaking it down, applying your expertise to that thing, and then putting that out as a case study, and you can do that do one a month, right? I don't think you need to do a tremendous number of these, but as you stack them up and then you use them as backing for your prospects when they have particular questions or whatever, is going to provide tremendous, tremendous value. And it really showcases your expertise. Okay, guys, this is the 10th video in our video series. I have one more bonus video that I'm going to send you, which really is kind of a slight recap and then a bunch of little kind of nuanced best practice takes. So make sure you look for one more video to come out in this series. I hope that you've enjoyed all these. I hope that you get these 10 videos out. When you get these 10 videos out, send me a link to them. I'd love to see them. I'm happy to break them down for you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, etc., please either reply to the email that you got, or you can just DM me on LinkedIn, social media, or leave a comment on the YouTube video. All right. Appreciate you guys and keep creating content.